EDG, but executing on closing the game was where it kind of fell apart for EDG.
Right, and obviously with EDG not being able to close out the game, like I have some of those reservations as well with Cloud9. Like they're not a team who consistently just close out games when they get ahead early on, and AHQ have shown many times here on the international stage they can play late game team fights.
And I think you and I both come in with the mindset of go mid lane, get Jensen ahead. Absolutely, right game plan. The what if is what happens afterwards and whether they can actually snowball that quickly.
Well, one way domestically that Cloud9 has usually found some success is through their drafts. Let's see how they can draft this game against AHQ. We are in a champion select. Galio, Rakan, Thresh all banned out by AHQ. Cloud9 responding by banning out Kalista and Jace with one left to go.
Very interesting, you're spending a ban on Thresh in a Lulu versus Janna meta with both those champions available. It might be AHQ saying we are afraid that C9 are not going to play Ardent Sensor. They're going to take that Thresh against our Janna or Lulu and try and stomp that lane.
It's basically, you look at these bans and say they're forcing Ardent Sensor. If you see Rakan and Thresh, sure, Rakan can build Ardent Sensor, but it's usually a later purchase, so banning away these two playmakers basically guarantees non-interactive bot lane. And one small factor that also means is that if we do see Janna versus Lulu, guess what? The junglers can set up around mid lane, around top lane, and leave the hyper carries to farm.
You said the magic word, Papa Smithy. Non-interactive, and the Janna is locked in. That one's picked up for Cloud9 in the support role, and they'll pick the Xayah to go along with it.
I'm surprised Tristana is not the choice here for Sneaky. When you are against a Jarvan, Tristana is just the more valuable AD carry because Xayah cannot get out of the Jarvan ulti with her own. She just gets up in air and right back down. But clearly favors the Xayah here. Also maybe expecting HQ to take the Varus in case he would actually take the Tristana, which is a matchup we've seen quite a few times go in favor of Varus.
And just like you guys predicted, Janna comes out on one side, Lulu comes out on the other side. You're just
smart prediction. We did it, guys.
We're in there, boys. This is why you two are the experts. Janna and Lulu picked up for the supports. They also got the Kog'Maw in there for the AD carry, and the Jarvan that was picked up first and foremost as Jungle Ezreal locked in for contracts.
It's becoming the North American special. We saw from Immortals yesterday. We see it here for Contracts, who has played the more aggressive style of junglers in recent mind. Even Warrior Rek'Sai was a bit of a contract special. They're gonna play around mid. That's our expectations because now we see hard hyper carry support and AD carry synergy here, and almost it becomes an arms race of how many gold runes are you taking, who's going Relic Shield, and who isn't is almost the kind of sub-story of what happens in the bot lanes. But like I mentioned, when you see these bot lanes, maybe this means that Mountain will be freed up to really focus on trying to minimize the fire that could be presented if Jensen gets first blood.
Or there's a world where Mountain says, if you're going mid, I'm going top. Try and get Ziv going against Impact. If you play something like Jarvan top lane with a jungler who can then gank next to him, there is the possibility to do it, but it is very difficult because often mid lane priority is the most important thing to then further, enable the side lanes. Otherwise, enemy mid lane is just going to roam to that side lane when you're ganking and kill you.
All right, so barring the Jarvan being flexed towards the top lane, we have solo lanes still have to be drafted on both sides, meaning that's where you might see the bans going this time around. Malzahar banned out by Cloud9, Cho and Syndra by AHQ, and the Kha'Zix banned out by C9 just in case it is that flex Jarvan.
And obviously people might wonder why I banned Malzahar right here. It is a pick that's actually been flexed around a little bit in certain regions, and also Westor, he has played it in the mid lane before, but I think it's not the mid lane Malzahar you're scared of, it is the what if it gets moved into a weird lane and we haven't really faced it before? Because that's what some teams have been doing, in practice.
It's actually a pick against Ryze in some regions as well. When we saw it in Korea, it was a pick against Galio, trying to lock him down and keep him in the mid lane with the percentage HP shred. So they are providing coverage with their Ryze, I believe, with that ban and forcing Westor onto the back foot as well. We'll go to the side of AHQ. I'm wondering if it will be Jarvan top or if the Gragas, which is still available, could still be locked in for Mountain, an ultra favorite of his, as we wait for Westor to cement, and it's going to be the Cassiopeia from him.
And we're just seeing this AHQ lineup with so much scaling at the moment, and it's going to fit that game plan of try and survive early game, win late game team fights, and completely opposite on the side of C9. When you have the Ryze in the Cassiopeia matchup, the Ryze can set up ganks effectively with, of course, his little instant snare, and then you have a jungler coming to maybe see if you can lock down that kill.
And I think at the end of the day, Ezreal jungle is a bit of a timer, right? The moment you see Ezreal jungle and you're against it, you're trying to buy time, stop the snowball. It's like Shaco a few years ago from the jungle. If the first blood doesn't come, the itemization is slow from the jungle, and AHQ is saying, hey, what about those 40, 50-minute games? Give us one of those. We're ready to go.
Exactly. Like, if they get to late game, they should win with this composition here. C9 might go for that Nautilus. They did the same yesterday against the same kind of AD carry, where it feels to me like they want to use that Nautilus ulti just to try and delay some of the damage from Arn, and you can actually reach him with at least a knockup, but otherwise Nautilus is kind of useless.
And you know, people were critical of it yesterday. The useless tag was thrown at him. Remember, this is again Cloud9 saying, this is our best pick, not what we're relegated to. Gnar, a famous Impact champion, is available. They looked past Maokai yesterday, which AHQ has locked in today. So C9 is going for reliable engage. Remember, instant snare from Ryze, a Nautilus top lane, has so much CC, and one of those lands, Ezreal with Storm Raiders will do the rest.
I mean, again, it just fits the whole get ahead early game for C9. Nautilus was always one of the weakest late game tanks because his own engage and CC was hard to kind of reach the target you wanted to. You gotta like skill shot him with the hook, and then you gotta have this really slow knock-up that kind of going to the backline with a multi-shield AD carry who doesn't care at that point in the game, and then Nautilus doesn't offer anything else in the fight. So it is very much early to mid-game for C9, and of course it is all about killing Westworld.
And I like the fact that you bring up the early game Cloud9 goals and what they want to accomplish compared to the scaling power of the AHQ composition, because the conversation we were having earlier, we were talking about in the caster room how every game, it seems so far, is either 25 minutes or 55 minutes, and there's almost nothing in between. The games are either super quick or they're super long.
And C9, they want the 25.
Absolutely. We'll have to see what they can do as we load into Summoner's Rift for the next go-round. 1 versus 1, technically 5 versus 5, but 1 team versus 1 team, AHQ versus Cloud9. Seeing if it will be the representatives from the LMS or the NALCS to walk away with the victory in this one. Remember, AHQ already has a win under their belts. They took a victory over EDG to the surprise of many. Cloud9 dropping that first game to SKT, not really to the surprise of many, but this is their chance to find that first win and get on the board.
And it went from just a game for Cloud9 fans to an important one. When you see EDG drop yesterday to AHQ, you realize that, hey, win here. And suddenly, when it comes to head-to-head, when it comes to the second seed that understandably a lot of teams are really focused on in this group with SKT looking so dominant, there's a lot to look forward to here if C9 can pick up the win.
I mean, a lot of people originally saw this group as sort of SKT's automatically going to get first, and then AHQ's probably not going to be competitive, and it's going to be a 2-horse race for second between EDG and Cloud9, but with the AHQ win yesterday, that changed.
Exactly, and that's why I think if you're AHQ and you're able to get that 2-0, you suddenly look like the favorites to make it out of this group here with SKT, despite still being a lot of games left to play. And we know from past experiences with Worlds, Day 1 and Day 2 do not decide the entire group. So European fans, don't get too sad just yet. There are still hope. I'm at least latching on to a little bit of hope for now.
Got your glass half full as much as you can there, Deficio.
I gotta try, man. I gotta try.
All right, Cloud9 also seeing what they can try here in the enemy jungle. They've got 3 men moved up on the enemy red buff, and they'll look to steal this one away here at level 1.
Was a trinket ward down from the side of AHQ, so they have a complete read on this. Force vertical jungling if they want to. They certainly will be able to get the read and look for a red buff steal. Because they were spotted, remember, contracts can go for a level 2 gank in the mid lane when you pick up a red buff this early.
He can also run straight to his own red buff in case the Jarvan is actually baiting to try and steal that away. And that is exactly what Contracts is doing. He's just rushing right there saying, if I find the Jarvan, I'm going to kill him.
You don't just fight level 2 red buff Ezreal very effectively as many champions. Contracts will be very capable of dealing with this J4 should he run into him. But as we can see, the Jarvan has no intention of heading towards this.
And this is very smart because you deny red buff from Jarvan, therefore you deny that first really powerful gank from Mountain as well. If you are C9, you know Jensen are going to play aggressive, you know West is going to sit at his tower, you do not want this Ryze to die very early.
And I think it's a smart read because the only possible gank you could see from the side of AHQ was a level 3 or level 2 red buff Jarvan. He certainly doesn't have a red buff. That information is confirmed for the side of C9. So now he will purely play the game of trying to counter gank mid and top. That requires deep vision, that requires extra early information. So having him now have no offensive options is pretty big. As speaking of offensive options, Contract's already bot lane.
Contract's going for an early gank here on the bottom side. Alba's going to eat the Mystic Shot to the base. Doesn't quite find the Glitter Lance where he wants it. A little bit of damage being applied to both the bottom laners of AHQ. Contract's walking himself away, no worse for wear. Goes right back into the jungle.
Not fully committing anything because there was a big wave Sneaky was killing under that tower. Not ready to leave. As one of the worst feelings as an AD carry when you're sitting and about to pick up a big minion wave and then your jungler is actually ganking for you. You gotta skip that wave and rush forward. Sneaky says, no, just step away, Contracts, go back to your jungle.
And speaking of bad AD carry feelings, I remember earlier in the season when Doran's shield got the buff, there was Sven and other AD carries saying, no, not my item, I'm going Doran's blade. How do those AD carries feel now that apparently you can go both sides relic shield? We're going full gold generation in the bot lane, such a far cry away from longsword pots like we had a few patches ago.
Definitely doesn't make you feel like a superhero, like a damage dealer, like AD
But
carries
then the outage sensor is completed, and then you're a superhero.
Let's see. Contracts is around here. He's on a ward.
Hanging out on a ward, so not likely to see a whole lot happening here. Mountain at half HP sitting on his own Krugs that he recently took, so not really a whole lot to see happening here either until Contracts makes another appearance bottom side, but again, spotted. These wards are just ruining his day. Jungle Ezreal is so dependent on getting going early too. Like, you want to see this pick succeed with some early ganks, but it's just not happening yet.
Yeah, so let's give credit to AHQ and their early vision control here. Actually kind of reading, okay, on bottom side is where we're expecting the Ezreal to be. Both wards spotted him and avoided a gank in mid and a gank in the bottom lane. And these things are very important when you play against these comps that wants to get so far ahead early, like we see from C9. A lot of teams tend to skip some of that early vision, and suddenly they get surprised.
If you think about it, all AHQ are focused on is sustaining, is getting to the late game. So if your wards are off point, your entire early game plan has completely gone out the window. So it's good to see them understand where the pressure's to be played, because you could have thought mid lane. It hasn't been any mid lane focus just yet from Contract.
Yeah, Westor been sitting very far back in his lane, making sure he's not an easy target to gank. Of course, after seeing Contracts down in the bottom lane, Mountain are able to go in and steal away most of that Raptor camp and get another deep ward. While Contracts is stuck on the Crux, which kind of sucks a little bit for the S. Will takes a lot of time for him to actually clear it in the end, and he's not able to apply pressure right now because he's trying to make sure he's not falling behind in experience.
I wonder what percentage of the game he's been sitting on a ward. He's spotted again as he walks up to the Raptors. So much smart vision put down from AHQ. Their read on Ezreal is probably similar to their read on, say, Nidalee, for example, if that was the jungle pick selected. That's the right read with what Contracts has been playing recently, and keeping tabs on the aggressive jungler has been gold standard so far for AHQ.
And now Westor can just hover towards the top side of his lane because he knew Contracts moved to the bottom side. And again, make it even harder for this Ezreal to execute a gank. Mountain will even found Contract.
Mountain one level up, but still not wanting to flex muscles against this Ezreal just yet. Contract's trying to steal away the chicken camp. He'll take one little tiny one. Mountain smites away the big one though.
I mean, the what-ifs are what's going through the head of Mountain here. He knows the game plan. They've stuck to it so far. Sure, there's a chance of a kill, but it's Flash, it's Ezreal with the Arcane Shift. There's mid lane priority for the Rise. You don't need to have the Bloodlust. That's not what the comp was set up for. That's not the win condition. So I like to see HQ, wherever possible, playing smart defensive rather than just giving up creeps, because they are still keeping competitive in CS.
Because if Mountain had gone all in right there on the Ezreal, with it, Westor would have to actually give up quite a lot of minions in the mid lane to try and join him. Otherwise, Jensen could just ult in with this Rise here and then instantly take down Mountain and force his Flash. So it's a cool game plan. I like the discipline as well from HQ so far. It's on C9 to keep forcing though.
Losing the minimum, it's an art. It's a very difficult thing because the red buff here, it's a smart sweep from Mountain, but we know Contract's close.
Very smart sweep from Mountain, expecting these jungle Ezreal shenanigans to try to catch him at his buff in a vulnerable position, grab some cheesy free kill, but not today.
Good
not
pressure
yet.
though from C9. Deep vision coming in, killing that ward as well with the control ward. And you have Jensen controlling mid, so he's not killing Westor yet, but he's always able to move first with the Rise here. And once again, Westor knows Contracts is on the bottom side, so he's staying towards the top side.
There we go, looking to make a play onto Westor now. Get the cleanse out of him that time. That point and click CC from Rise, so effective. It's why you've got to take the cleanse against this champion, but that's one tool out of Westor's arsenal the next time Cloud9 tries this.
Turn to the red buff as well. Will probably be a contest. Mountain puts down the ward.
Mountain really not wanting to give this one away to Contracts, but Contracts wanting to steal this now, especially with that cleanse gone from the Cassiopeia. They're confident in this 2 versus 2, but it might be even more. Contracts gonna be jumped on, but gets himself away along with taking the red. Nicely played by Cloud9 so far. They find themselves cut off by the miasma. Realm Warp comes in, gets them all out. Westor is now the one who's forced to slither away. Flash gonna be coming out as well. Impact makes the rotation, and the damage is there over the wall. First blood.
Excellent teleport coming through from Impact. A lot more decisive than I expected from C9. They do pick up the first blood. It took 8 minutes, but they start to break the game open.
And again, it starts with Jensen pushing in Westor, moving down first. So when Westor had time to join, he walked past that Raptor camp, found himself all alone without a good way to actually get out. And that earlier ward placed by Contract near the Raptor camp was used to TP on.
And what were we saying at the beginning of this game, boys? Talking about the Cloud9 game plan every time. Play around mid, get Jensen going. This is the default that this team falls back to, and it's working now as they find the kill into Westor.
An early game, what does Nautilus have? Reliable pushing and just the most reliable of teleport games. When you see the replay, we're almost surprised by the base damage of the flag and drag onto Contract. They thought they'd zoned out, but this is a really smart use of the Realm.
Yeah, great TP as well. And then, of course, a ton of CC on this Nautilus here once you get onto your target.
Think again about the Realm Warp. It stopped him from going back to mid lane. He had to walk towards the Nautilus. That was the only place he could go.
I think another awesome thing here is C9 are not ganking mid lane. But what they're doing is they're using Jensen and Contracts together to actually play around each other. So it's not just Contracts trying to feed Jensen, it's actually Jensen using his pressure to feed Contracts, allowing him to go into the jungle, kill away some of these camps here, deny Mountain whatever he can at least, and then his Ezreal can get a bit of farm. But Ezreal is not getting any early kills, and he is currently a level down as well compared to the Jarvan.
Also want to point out that Cloud9, while they did get the first blood, they had to invest significantly into it. The teleport from Impact, as well as the flashes of 4 out of 5 members of this team, means they may find themselves at a disadvantage if another skirmish happens to happen before those summoner spells come back up and available. Westor, though, still without either summoner spell, may still be vulnerable as the tanks in the top lane just continue going back and forth, blow for blow. You can see the catalysts up on both of them, so the build's going to be very similar here as well. Jensen and Contracts, again, just trying to counter jungle whenever possible.
Even if the pick ban wasn't enough, you press tab, you see that already a very fast Targon's Brace is completed for Arn. You're under no sort of illusion that AHQ is trying to lose the minimum. It's an Infernal Drake spawn. First, there's 4 control wards already placed around. AHQ keep waving the white flag and saying, not now, we'll get there later. So I'm gonna look for C9 to make that Infernal Drake take as fast as possible.
Absolutely. Now grabbing the root onto On. Sneaky playing aggressively on this Xayah now, utilizing that Blade Caller to get the Feather Root.
And I want to talk about like the next step for C9. It really is around bottom side. Push in this lane here from HQ, roam down with Jensen first. You can always move before the Cassiopeia and then just get pressure on bot lane here. And then suddenly means there's now a Dragon available. There is no teleport from Impact. Zip needs a few more seconds on his.
Cloud9 going for this now.
Get away,
that
Westor!
TP available. Westor trying to get out, but now he may just be collapsed on, getting himself the Petrifying Gaze. The damage coming down onto Jensen. The root into the Dunk Mountain, not able to find it! And Contracts fires the True Shot Barrage!
And Smooth is showing why he took Janna early over the Lulu, because there is a Jarvan on the other side and you can deny so much damage from AHQ lineup by using this ulti perfectly from Smooth. Another shield coming in as well. Jensen making sure he stays alive.
And AHQ did not need to make that initiate. It looked like they could get away scot-free, but they give up 2 kills. Not yet the Infernal Drake, but when you have that sustaining playstyle, that defensive playstyle, sometimes you go awry.
I am pretty sure HQ are saying we need a few more seconds for teleport. We can then actually fight and stop them. But because of the ulti from Ryze, the fight breaks out way earlier. And then suddenly the TP was not ready, because it was up about the time Westor died, TP was ready from Save. We're talking a few seconds, but because C9 disengaged from the Drake and take the fight, well, then HQ's game plan kind of go out the window.
And now the TP is up, not only for Ziv, but we're just moments away from it being available for Impact too. So both top laners will now have the opportunity to get involved in the next fight when it happens for that Infernal Drake.
And that was kind of the thing before here, where HQ actually were happy enough giving up first blood for a teleport, because it meant that Arn and Albus in the bot lane would be safe for a little while. You can't really create a tower dive with the Ryze if the enemy Maokai can just TP in and stop you. now the fact that C9 still managed to get a few kills and get Impact TV back, well, suddenly C9 can play around this bot side and actually do it properly.
And speaking of properly playing around these things and setting up the fights, Ardent Sensor now up on both of these supports means that you are going to have that extra fighting and damage capability in the fight.
But that's the only even thing about where the game is at. It's obviously recurve for Pickaxe for Cloud9. So far from the Rage where they're actually teleporting in after the Drake goes down.
The attempted steal from Mountain not quite coming through. Contracts making sure to use the True Shot Barrage to get the burst down there, as well as Mountain going to find himself caught out over the wall. EQ comes back in time to get himself back to safety. Didn't have the flash there, so really needed that. Contracts now chasing further after Albus. A little bit more damage to do the trick, but a flash away from the Lulu keeps him alive. Smoothie and Contracts continuing to apply the pressure after grabbing the objective.
Yeah, because now it's Ziv without teleport, because he was trying to use it there very late for that Drake. They could never actually fight for it, so it was just a bad call from Ziv and AHQ. And C9 will now get full control on the bottom side. Rise can move down, they can even TP in, and they will get a lot of damage on tower.
Yeah, the snowball plan's really working here for C9. When you think back to what happened when the double kill came through from C9, honestly, I think taking away the aggressive control wards that C9 had placed down to allow, say, a level 11 Realm Warp from ruining bot lane was higher priority than denying an Infernal. You already have a fantastic late game fight on the side of AHQ. You don't need to fight for everything, and choosing between what you give up and what you fight for is what AHQ drafted themselves into. They drafted themselves into that corner.
And that's why it's actually a shame, because the first 10 minutes we felt like they were really following that game plan. Not taking any risky fights, not giving away anything. Westor played super safe in his lane. After 10 minutes though, that game plan kind of disappeared, and they were suddenly calling for fights for no reason at all. It's cost them now twice, and C9 have already picked up the first tower.
I mean, let's talk about what would have happened if it was a match teleport. It's a 5v5. It's Abyssal Mask buffing up the Rise damage versus a Catalyst and some other tank items. It may have been Ardent Sensor on both sides, but the Rage Blade wasn't complete yet. They didn't have the tools to fight, and it certainly didn't have the levels and the time to fight. So that's why it's so strange. The teleport came in, the fights went in. It's been up and down from AHQ after a solid first 10 minutes.
AHQ will need to continue playing patiently and safely if they want to be able to win this game. That is pretty much cemented at this point. But if you're Cloud9, what's the next step to continuing to snowball this lead and getting where they need to go?
And I think just following on from that question, it's both teams kind of outside, specifically AHQ. What do we have to fight around? Because it keeps morphing as lanes get longer, as the ability to put down wards on first Rift Herald, then Baron gets longer. It's so hard to choose, and it evolves depending on the mistakes you make early.
Yeah, the plan here for C9 now is to continue playing around Sneaky and Smoothie. It's actually not about playing around Jensen specifically. They just need him to push the lane and be able to move to the two side lanes. He can then either go bot lane and gank, or go top lane and secure another tower or Rift Herald. He's going for the gank option.
Bottom side is going to be Impact, locking down the Ziv with the CC. Nature's Grass comes out. Ziv trying to buy himself some time to get away from this one, but I don't think it's happening today. The damage from Jensen should be enough to take him down. Flash away.
Oh.
Twisted advance onto the scuttle grab, but Jensen will flash right after him, landing the root.
Westor.
Now Westor showing up, dropping the miasma. True Shot Barrage coming down. They're bringing in the cavalry, and Jensen grabs the kill onto Ziv. Now Westor sticking around a little bit too long. Petrifying Gaze not quite going to be finding the stun today. Contract looking to chase him down, but now the combo is interrupted, and Sneaky grabs the kill and him out.
Like bowling pins, they come one by one and get bowled over by C9. All they can clear is some wards on the top side. Just a bit of topping up with the Monsoon. And it's going to be mid lane turret, and this snowball is starting to crash down the hopes of AHQ.
From a snowball looking more and more like an avalanche, Cloud9 building this lead, going from the early game in the mid game, rotating around as a team, finding these picks, finding these moments. Let's take another look at how it happened.
This situation here, when Jensen is deciding to go bottom lane, it actually gives AHQ a chance to make a play on the top side with 4 versus 3. But they decide to say, we can actually try and save our Maokai. Ziv is doing a great job just buying a lot of time, but his team is not doing anything with it because they make the call to actually go down here. And then suddenly, Maokai can't get out. Westor needs to use everything to escape, and Mountain is saying, I want to save my mid laner now.
You look at the minimap, and all they really got was a couple of control wards around the Rift Herald, and then because people are living so long, because earlier damage was a bit higher than expected, commitments are being made, and that's where I feel the communication, that final killer call of commit or disengage is starting to go awry, because in a couple of half-second decisions, AHQ have really opened up an advantage for C9.
Yeah, it really seems like AHQ are deciding on a play, and then no matter what happens, they're going to stick to it. The call there was try and save Zim, and that's why they kept walking in one by one, even when they could have just stepped away and let him die and nothing else could happen. Same with the Drakes earlier, where it very clearly seemed like they were saying, we need to fight for this Infernal Drake. And then it actually ends up costing them because they were not ready with TP first, and they definitely should not go for the second one.
Talking about those Infernal Drakes, it's under a minute now before that second one spawns. That is exactly what Cloud9 wants to see with this snowballing plan. You love to see those high-value Drakes come out when you're in total control of the map, in total control of the game. They'll love to set up for that one and grab it for themselves. And AHQ likely going to have to do what we talked about earlier and just continue to concede these objectives because fighting is becoming more and more difficult.
And what I've really loved about C9 is they've been well drilled in terms of their preparation for objectives, because they had 3-4 control wards around the Infernal Drake, eventually took it, moved 3 topside, thought they'd get a Rift Herald, eventually there was a fight. Speaking of fights,
now we've got Cloud9 going to be collapsed on in the enemy jungle. Over the wall goes Mountain, able to find the dump on a contract. Well, Morph can't save him just yet. Sneaky and Smoothie show up a little too little, a little too late. Sneaky firing off those feathers, but now Impact has TP'd behind enemy lines only to find himself alone. Cloud9 gives away 2 for free.
Bit of a misread here. They had previously been played around Ridge, and we saw them setting up and starting to move their wards down bot side, but they were looking for a red buff steal, and that ended up being 1 objective too aggressive from the side of C9, and they'll probably give up Infernal on the backside.
Yeah, that is a huge one here by AHQ. While C9 have been able to get so much gold before this by punishing a lot of mistakes, it's now actually the other way around. And the thing is, as we said in Champs, like HQ's comp is insane in the late game. They've just been making some risky plays that cost them a lot of gold, but the fact they're getting 2 kills back plus Infernal, that is huge for a potential comeback.
We're definitely not in 3-sweeper territory yet, so there are wards here giving AHQ advanced information, and C9 feel like they can play in multiple parts of the map. The collapse from AHQ was first, was on point. Doesn't matter how many items are stacked onto the Rise and onto the Xayah. They give up the Infernal as well. You look at the gold lead, it's not 5,000 yet. It's still going to be closer and closer as the game goes on, and C9 need to find a way to stick their leads.
And look at what's being displayed on your screen right now. Cloud9 with a lead at 20, a 74% win rate. If they have that, that seems solid at first, but then you look at where that ranks among all other Worlds teams, they're 22nd out of 24.
And that's including play-ins, remember. That's
Yeah.
a lot of teams, and that is not a strong suit of their game plan. They are not following into what we saw earlier with playing around control wards, people across the map making decisions that may cost them. And what we can say about AHQ, it was fully evidenced yesterday against EDG. You give them late game, they've drafted for it, they're ready to go.
We know HQ will never give up in these late game fights here. They're trying to protect Ann every single time and see if he can be the big carry. Westor is trying to at least deal a bit of damage, but it's not about him. Normally when we see HQ in late game, it is really about just protect this AD carry.
Cloud9 unleashes Shelly in the top lane, finds themselves their 3rd turret. That will be the final one in that outer ring. But what did we see yesterday, guys? We saw AHQ against EDG in a match that went forever. EDG made quite a few punishable mistakes, and AHQ, because of that, found the win. Cloud9 cannot allow themselves to fall into the same trap, or they might suffer the same fate. Now on, Baby collapsed on here, Cloud9. 5 men strong, we're gonna take down the AHQ bottom lane. Root comes out, damage comes through, Wild Growth is there, but it will not be enough. On goes first, Albus goes second, and Cloud9's looking for Baron.
And that's the kind of play you're looking for if you are C9. You're still trying to play this fast game here. Great use of the rifle here from Jensen. They're fighting again.
Still trying to stop this. AHQ is not willing to go quietly into the night on this one. Mountain over the wall, ready to steal if need be. Jensen walking away with 10% health. Scryer's Bloom fired off. Cloud9 backing away from this one now. The Baron is stopped.
So very early in the game, so tanking the Baron here when your Nautilus is sitting with only magic resistance at this point, and Ezreal jungle is difficult, forcing a C9 to just step back, accept the fact they got 2 kills, and that's still good enough for them.
I mean, another pick later, and you gotta say, Rise, Ezreal, and Xayah do shred down Baron. So you can see why there's a bit of bloodlust in their eyes. We've seen the replay, very decisive. And what I want you to note is that Rise does not take the Realm Warp. Once again, they come up with these pincers. I like the fact that we always see the evolving use of the Rise ultimate, and there was nowhere to run for AHQ.
And we've seen that multiple times. Jensen using this ulti to surprise AHQ. HQ very clearly have that plan in mind that then gets completely destroyed because of how fast multiple C9 members show up behind them.
And I want to talk about something a bit more general as the game starts to slow down a little bit. And it's about the Ardent sentiment. It's about delay tactics. It's about what we see HQ draft and what we'll see many more teams draft, these containment drafts, the trust in the late game. I still am fully on the side that playing aggressive is the way to play, even if you do draft Ardent Sensor, because guess what? The shortest way between 2 points on the map is the aggressive path, and if you have the wards down, if you've already done the due diligences, if you're there first, you will reap the rewards. So C9, so far, have largely been able to do that. That's why they've grown a gold lead, and I think that's the right way to play the meta.
Definitely, if you're able to continue actually snowballing, and that's why a lot of teams are saying, we don't feel like we can do that consistently, so we want to take the late game draft and just see if we can win late game team fights. And that is also a very fair choice to make if you don't trust in your ability to play that very clean game.
I really like the itemization decision coming out from Cloud9 right now as well. You can see Impact with the adaptive helm, trying to get himself away now from the collapse by Ziv. He might have help coming in, but Cloud9 on the Baron while their opponent's time is being diverted to their top laner. Now Impact going to be making that TP up to Baron himself. AHQ, they want to collapse, they want to get here, but it's not going to be in time. Cloud9 get the Baron 24 minutes in.
Very important here that C9 is making a good call for Baron, and no vision around it from AHQ, no reaction really happening from them either until it's too late. The Baron was one of the reasons AHQ got back in the game against EDG yesterday, because they actually managed to win a fight, secure that objective around the 30-minute mark, delay the game even further. C9, though, get it before 25 minutes. They can now start getting out some of these tier 2 turrets.
And it's just consistent play from them. 3 control wards down. They knew there was no chance that AHQ was going to react. No steal potential coming out from them. They pick up the Baron. The wave play on the side of AHQ is really nothing to write home about. It's decent, but certainly not going to be gold standard when the Baron buff comes in. Once they start getting those flanking wards and bringing up the minion wave from Jensen, they have a lot of options for C9.
And Ryze is also one of the best mid laners with the Baron buff, because when you're pulling people to these different lanes to defend, you use your ulti to quickly get to another lane, buff up these minions, and then you can even bring some minions with you and just take down a turret where the enemy team can't defend because they cannot move as fast as you can.
Cloud9 now set up with the 4-1 situation, pretty much the staple for Baron pushes, unless you're in a region like the LCK where you sometimes get to see the 1-3-1s done successfully, but in the North American LCS, Cloud9 used to these 4-1 setups. Once they've got the Baron, we'll have to see how well they can execute now, applying the pressure to the tier 2s in the mid lane and the top lane. Jensen continuing to put those auto attacks into the top lane. Tier 2 nearly has that one down, while the rest of the team can tell the same story here mid. It's very hard to deal with. This is AHQ, 8,500 gold down. They've got the Righteous Glory on the Maokai to try to engage if it's a possibility, but Cloud9 is just so far ahead, and it's so difficult. Now they're making that push.
They're hitting the item break-even points one. That's also a hook, but just onto Ziv. They'll back away. Trinity Force complete on Ezreal. 2 to 3 items on everyone. Cloud9 are ready for a fight, and that's why AHQ are always all walking backwards. Even if they have a numbers advantage, they want nothing doing with a 5v5.
10,000 gold down now means Cloud9 feels good about the gold lead they're sitting on. With the Cloud Drake now up, they can shove up bottom, grab the tier 2 if they want that, fall back to the Drake. The world is their oyster, the map is their territory. AHQ pretty much confined to their base at this point. Almost 2 full minutes still remaining on Baron as well. They've got plenty of time to work.
And it's just a pleasure to see C9 play the side lanes multiple times. See if the Realm Warp's committed to, just the Rise coming through, but they're playing the side lanes in a way that EDG didn't. They still have their outer turrets up. No turrets taken down from AHQ. No doors left open from C9. Sure, a silly visit to the enemy red buff once, but otherwise, this is the way they need to play.
Exactly true. Clean for the most part from Cloud9. Now at the push-up in the bottom side, they'll continue applying that pressure to AHQ. 1 minute left of Baron buff. Ping coming down now onto the Cloud Drake. Cloud9 thinking of backing off. Not really a lot left to find with AHQ mounting this solid defense, and they'll just fall back for the neutral objective.
Full reset, go back, spend all the gold right now because you're picking up so many towers. 2,000 on Sneaky, 2,000 on Jensen, and take a Drake on the way out. You've now done your job. And this is again why getting early Baron in these comps that want to really win the game as fast as possible are just so key. And it's one of the objectives we see these defensive teams stall around for a long time. You get these Baron dances that can last multiple minutes, but in this game here, AHQ's defensive vision is very lackluster, and they're just getting pushed into multiple lanes.
And you just talked about the buying, how they had to spin that gold. Gold in your pocket doesn't do anything for you, but now big items coming online for these guys. Seraph's Embrace being picked up by Jensen, the Infinity Edge picked up for Sneaky. Their impact in these upcoming fights is going to be significantly more than it was before, and you've got to be that much more careful if you're AHQ. You're at the point in the game where the current situation with the map and the current situation with the gold deficit means that one big mistake and this game's GG.
It's good news stories everywhere up the side of Cloud9. 11,000 gold, supremacy in every lane. Really makes you cast your mind back to yesterday where SKT really put Cloud9 to the sword in similar fashion to what C9 are doing here. Remember, EDG's the other team in this group. If we see EDG play like they did yesterday, there is a world where you leave day 2, and sure, it's an early prediction, but feeling really good about Cloud9 maybe getting out of groups.
Jensen putting himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, pops the Zonias with the Realm Warp to get away to the rest of his team. Redemption comes down, shield comes out, Smoothie making sure that mid laner does not drop today, but he came real close.
There's something on the nose about mid laners getting out with teleport abilities and Zonias in China, where the Messiah was made famous. This Twisted Fate engages, or we see, well, speaking of engage.
Yeah.
That wasn't much of one. The Nature's Grasp just kind of goes flying off to the side. Wave to it as it passes.
That's an engage.
As there's your engage. The hook lands onto the enemy support. The Ardent Sensor is gone. Sneaky's grabbing a killing spree, and it's time to cut down that tree. A double kill for Cloud9's AD carry.
And while it looked very close before with Jensen just staying alive, while the rest of C9, they're very healthy, and they just turned this one around. AHQ tried to find a team fight, couldn't really get it. Mountain was never in range to land his ulti. Ziv will go down a second time in this game, and now that's an in him.
At the end of the day, it's been a lot of they couldn't take the engagements they did. They couldn't fight for so many minutes. They can't contest this inhibitor turret from going down either.
And you saw the ult there from Smoothie that gives the Ardent Sensor to everybody else on the team. The attack speed buff is there. The turret is gone in the blink of an eye, and they grab the in-hit.
Timing again, because now they can once again go back to base, spend gold, get control wards, and Baron is spawning in about a minute's time. This is the replay from before here with the re-engage from C9, and this Nautilus pick, because he's not been shut down in the early game, he's not having to deal with a Maokai in the late game and match, who's the best top lane there. No, he's still fairly early on in the game where he can just keep landing hooks and line up easy targets for the rest of C9. Good single target CC and nice damage.
Yeah, like you say, it's always about the single targets when you have Nautilus and Rise. With the damage that Sneaky already has, Infinity Edge complete for a while now. We'll mow down those single targets, and HQ, they just have nowhere they can go. They're lucky to pick up a Grom. Get a bit of gold at this point in the game. Next Baron is 40 seconds. I'm not convinced C9 need that to close the game, but it'd be a nice cherry on the top of what has been a delicious cake for Cloud9.
It's not a need, it's a want, and if Cloud9 want it, they can take it at this point. 13,000 gold up on looking to put some damage here into Smoothie. Grabbed a good chunk of his health bar on that one, but Impact is channeling the TP to make his way into this fight. Not quite going to do it just yet, but the Realm Warp is down, and Impact is now delivered into the back line. On going to be hit by the ulti, but the damage is ultimately on the Mountain, who gets knocked right out of the fight himself. Westor's going to be next. The Petrifying Gaze will buy him enough time to escape, but On is quickly squished under the foot of the Nautilus. The root comes down. Ziv is taken out just a little bit, not quite yet.
Taken out of the base. They're going to go for the finish.
He's taken out of the base, and Cloud9 again. The Ardent Sensor ulti from the Janna. The one super minion is enough. The backdoor bonus is gone, and Cloud9 will take down AHQ and get themselves their first win.
Smoothie may be the most offensive Janna we've seen. No peeling from him, just buffs for everyone. Cloud9 looks super good. Rip apart AHQ with aplomb. And now suddenly, what does that mean for our last game of the day? Because unless EDG can correct their mistakes from yesterday, Cloud9 to me are favorites to join SKT out of the group.
After a game like this against AHQ, where we saw C9 invest in the early to mid game, say we know we can get ahead early on, we know we can then actually close out the game, we can set up that vision properly, we can secure the Barons, and they did that very well. AHQ committed fully to just go to 40-50 minutes. Nothing else. They had no real way of responding in the early game, and sadly for them, C9 are better at snowballing than EDG based on the two games we've seen today and yesterday.
AHQ made the mistake of betting on the slow-paced Fiesta type of a game where nobody wants to do anything, we all just dance around, we have a good time, and then 55 minutes we flip a coin on a team fight. That wasn't the reality. Cloud9 was able to execute, and for Cloud9 fans, you've got to be happy to see them pull this off after what was, like you said earlier, Papa Smithy, a very convincing defeat yesterday at the hands of SKT. The team is not shaken. They're still in a good place, and they were able to find a strong win.
I mean, decisive League of Legends out of Cloud9 is something their fans have been looking for all year. Even essentially when Reaper came in, this was the final point they hoped they'd reach. They've done it in a single game. Doing it in this group is not going to be trivial. And remember that AHQ, sure, they looked to late game, but then they made half measures towards fighting in the early games. They didn't even go all in. They still made a couple of bets and said, hey, if we get the gold now, maybe it's going to be 40 minutes, maybe it's going to be 35 minutes, but they really cemented their downfall.
And that was really just the weird thing with AHQ is the fact they gave so many windows to C9 to force early fights, especially with that Rise ulti from Jensen that he used to perfection.
Well, with C9 picking up their first win of the group stage, let's go ahead and toss things back to Dash and the analysts to get their thoughts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Cloud9 rebounding after their loss to SK Telecom yesterday, picking up a win here against AHQ to move to 1-1. And this was a much more convincing win here for this NA squad, and probably something they'll feel good about moving forward through the group stages.
Yeah, very good victory here for Cloud9. I am glad we all tipped them in the end as well based off the performances, because when we looked at the draft itself, I was still on board with AHQ's team composition. I thought they outdrafted Cloud9 just a little bit, but Cloud9 got ahead so early, it didn't matter.
I'll admit, I had some questions around this Nautilus pick, both yesterday and today even going into the game. Can we explain it a bit?
The Nautilus is the last remaining kind of mega tank that is out there. The Maokai has already taken the Cho'Gath as well, but they know they have to commit hard to make this composition work. And how hard did they commit? 4 flashes for First Blood. And sure, it looks over the top, but they're able to play with that advantage well and snowball effectively.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a misconception about Cloud9 that they camp mid lane. They go mid lane to get advantages in an efficient fashion. They actually have negative jungle proximities when compared to other North American teams who play against Cloud9. And we saw it this game. They go mid, everyone uses flashes, and then they scatter to take the advantages towards the rest of the map. And that was kind of the story of this game, is how much they paid it forward once Westdoor was a complete non-factor, because they got control of the mid side and then were able to win bot, control Drake, and take control of the game.
Yeah, I would say the key phrase there, Jad, is that they just execute mid, right? They don't have to spend all of their time around there. They simply make the play there, and it makes it look fantastic when it works, such as in this game.
Well, they let Jensen get ahead, and he used Realm Warp so well, abusing the people that did not have Flash, specifically Westdoor, turning around on everybody, even teleporting the Nautilus in by himself at the very end to make sure that you can get more engages. And the composition that looked like, how are they going to get a fight started? It doesn't look like the 4-man unit is going to succeed doing this. Well, if you just TP Nautilus behind everybody, now all your problems are solved.
At the beginning of the week, we teased this group as SK Telecom out in front. This is a race for second place, right? Well, AHQ surprised a lot of people with their win yesterday as EDG had a solid lead. Cloud9 handily beats AHQ today. What does that mean in terms of the comparison between Cloud9 and EDG?
I mean, based on the 2-game sample size, woo, go NA. They're 3-0 today and easily out of this group. In reality, we still don't know yet, because EDG, I think, played well below their level against AHQ, and I think AHQ had a lot of the same openings against EDG and Cloud9. It was just a matter of Cloud9 executing a little bit better. We don't know what the matchup's going to be like between EDG and C9, and if EDG beats C9 twice, they're probably through the group no matter what, so I still need to wait and see for that one.
All right, we're not ready to call anything just yet. Enough from us, though. Let's head over to Shox to hear from C9's jungler.
Thank you very much, guys, indeed. Joined here by Contracts, who is playing the Ezreal the third time we see it here at Worlds. It is obviously a bit tough. We saw a good early game and not winning from Xmithy yesterday. This time it was a bit slower for you. What do you think is the most important thing about playing jungle Ezreal and making sure it wins the game?
I don't know. Jungle Ezreal is like pretty tricky. I'm still like not fully like 100% like really. I don't know. I'm just not super good on the champion yet, and I still have a lot to learn for him and his playstyle. But you just want to like get the enemy jungler behind early and invade his camps. I wasn't able to really fight in Jarvan early, so I think that was a really big mistake on my part. I feel like I could have found him more and get better vision in his jungle. But yeah, I think just being a really big factor in the game early is important.
Yeah, but you guys did still manage to win, and it was super convincing. I got to say that Nautilus worked out fantastically this time around, not so well yesterday. What do you think the difference was, and why is it that you guys prefer going to that pick?
Well, I don't actually think the Nautilus was the reason why we lost yesterday. I made a lot of really dumb mistakes yesterday that costed my team really big, and I think I improved them a little bit today. I still have a lot to work on, but I don't know. Nautilus is just really good with Ezreal because he can set up plays really easily, and Ezreal lacks CC. So Nautilus is just one of those safe picks that can just engage, be the front line that Ezreal needs. I think it has a pretty good matchup top lane, so Impact prefers it.
You seem very introspective. That's not why she said, oh, I don't think I did that well. I don't think I'm doing that well. And before you said you're quite nervous on stage. So will that kind of be the biggest hurdle for you and for you guys, just to adapt and make sure that you keep calm and play to your level that you know you can play to?
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday I played, well, not my first Worlds game, but first World like in groups and against SKT, the former champion. So, I mean, I definitely felt pretty nervous, and I don't know if it really, I guess it kind of showed. I made a lot of mistakes yesterday. But I just tried to calm my nerves a little bit today. I still am a little nervous. I'm like shaky a little bit, but I think I'm doing well right now.
Well, I think it's to be expected for your first Worlds appearance, but you did get a fantastic win on the books. Any comment on the 3-0 North America today here?
We're the best NA team here.
Oh, there we go. Well, thank you very much, Contracts. Lovely interview as well. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it is